Zhang Ailing's Withering Flowers. What kind of life does a girl who is not valued by her parents have? Withering Flowers is a short story written by Zhang Ailing in 1944. Zhang Ailing tells the story of a girl's short and depressing life in a consistently desolate style. When Zhang Ailing wrote this story, she still continued her feelings of compassion. From a female perspective, she cared about those women who were troubled by the times, their families, and themselves. The characters written by an author will more or less have some reflections of themselves. And Zhang Ailing in Withering Flowers also has some reflections of Zhang Ailing's own experience. Zhang Ailing is a gifted writer with extraordinary talents that God loves to eat. However, God did not give Zhang Ailing a perfect family of origin, and the broken family relationship has always been a pain in her heart. When Zhang Ailing was a teenager, her parents divorced and her mother left alone. Zhang Ailing lived with her stepmother and father. The tense and depressive atmosphere at home, the unhappy relationship with her stepmother, and her father's indifference all made Zhang Ailing like a tight string, and she could never relax at home. Although Zhang Ailing's parents were not divorced, they suffered from the same depression and pain caused by their original family. A seemingly perfect family is actually riddled with holes. At a casual glance, Zhang Ailing's family seems to be a typical middle-class family of the Republic of China. My father lives outside and my mother lives inside, living in a big bungalow. The lively family would regularly go to the cinema to watch movies by car. And when they had nothing to do, they would sit at home and listen to the music played by the ancient gramophone. However, guests who visit Zhang's house will find that there are only 2 beds in this beautiful and elegant house. People who can't sleep in the bed crowd in the living room to make beds on the floor at night. The servants' wages are often in arrears. However, the movie is a must-see. Yes, the lifestyle cannot be lowered, and the spiritual aristocracy cannot be lost. Because the family's financial constraints have contributed to the conflicts between the Zhang Ailing sisters. The seemingly well-educated ladies each have their own hidden agendas and are striving to maximize their own interests at home. As the youngest and most honest sister, Zhang Ailing can only wear clothes that are outdated or unwanted by her sisters. And because her sisters are all beautiful, the appearance of Zhang Ailing, who doesn't like to dress up, is further blurred. In this lively house, Yu Xing and I appear on the stage every day. But Zhang Ailing is like a passerby, unable to compare with her sisters and unable to attract the attention of her parents. It was not until her sisters got married that Zhang Ailing became beautiful. Due to lack of money, Zhang Ailing's father, Mr. Zheng, could only develop his career by marrying his daughter. Each of the daughters is a female bride, entrusting their fathers unlimited expectations. It was against this background that Zhang Ailing's fiancé Zhang Yunfan was favored by Zhang Ailing's parents. In Mr. Zheng's opinion, Zhang Yunfan has several advantages that make him a high-quality son-in-law. Zhang Yunfan is an overseas student who has just returned from China. He is the easiest to catch because of his greedy mouth, and is simple-minded and easy to fool. Zhang Yunfan is a doctor. After becoming the son-in-law of the Zheng family, the children of the Zheng family can get free injections and free examinations, which will benefit them throughout their lives. Mrs. Zheng has been buying pharmaceutical stocks. Zhang Yunfan can serve as a military advisor and consultant for Mrs. Zheng, and he can also make a lot of money for the Zheng family. No matter from any angle, it is in line with the requirement of maximizing the interests of the Zheng family. However, when Zhang Ailing saw Zhang Yunfan for the first time, he felt nothing. What she likes is a tall and strong man like an athlete, not a thin scholar. Her feelings for Zhang Yunfan were gradually cultivated under the stipulations of her parents' orders to find a matchmaker. Zhang Ailing is the epitome of many women of that era. They were unable to control their own destiny and could only obey their parents' arrangements. As for whether the outcome was good or bad, they were left to fate. Whether family affection is cold or indifferent can be known once you get sick. The Zhang Ailing family is noisy all year round, and having many children and wives can always create a lively appearance. However, beneath the surface is the deeper loneliness of the individual. Because we have more children, we are poorer. Because we are poor, we cannot enjoy many things to ourselves. The only radio at home is Chuan Chang's favorite thing, but it is also something that she often doesn't get to enjoy. When chatting with her fiancé Zhang Yunfan, Chuan Chang talked about her ideals. Kua Chang turned the radio softly and said softly, "I don't have any other ideals. I just hope that one day I can sleep with the radio on." Kua Chang, who has no ideals, only hopes to sleep with the radio on. However, how can he sleep with the radio on? This can only be achieved by escaping from this lively family. Deep down in her heart, Chuan Chang wanted to escape from her family of origin, but her identity as a woman left her nowhere to escape. She could only wait to be ranged by her parents, and she could legitimately escape by getting married. Perhaps this is the generation gap between many parents and women. Many parents think that having more children is a blessing, but many children would rather be an only child. For poor families, having more children is always a pressure. Both parents and children will clearly feel the trouble caused by material poverty and large family members. Chuan Chang placed all her hopes on her fiancé Zhang Yunfan, but one day she fell ill. It was a lung disease that could not be cured at that time. She gradually could not get out of bed, and her face became increasingly pale. During the 2 years since she was ill, her fiancé Zhang Yunfan had a new girlfriend. Her parents were becoming less and less patient. When more and more money was spent and his daughter was still not getting better, Zhang Yunfan mentioned that new medicines could be used, but Mr. Zhang was unwilling to spend money. He claimed that he had no money to support his aunt and his wife. If he wanted to treat the disease, Mrs. Zhang can spend her own money to buy medicine for her daughter. Mrs. Zhang, who was feeling sorry for her daughter just a second ago, didn't want her husband to know that she had private money. Neither of them wanted to pay, so the two of them shamelessly asked Zhang Yunfan to pay, who told him to abandon his daughter all the time. Mrs. Zhang believed that Zhang Yunfan, who almost became her son-in-law, was obliged to pay the money. A seemingly solid family relationship can turn into a beautiful bubble that bursts when you encounter money-related issues. What's more, in Chuan Chang's eyes, this family relationship is not strong, and she is always dispensable in the eyes of her parents. A girl who was miserable before her death and decent after her death. In the 2 years since Chuan Chang was ill, she had seen her fiancé marry another woman, and her parents no longer wanted to spend money on medical treatment for her. Chuan Chang knew that she was a drag and she just wanted to end her life as soon as possible. Chuan Chang, who had not been out for a long time, had 50 yuan on her body. This was the money she needed to buy sleeping pills and book a hotel to end her life. Little did she know that during the 2 years since she was sick, prices had already changed. 50 yuan is not enough to buy a bottle of sleeping pills. So how can you afford to stay in a hotel? What Chuan Chang, who was walking on the street, pursued was a poetic death. A touching death, a death that could rouse the sympathy of the world. However, Chuan Chang, who was as haggard as a skeleton, only attracted the fearful eyes of passers-by. They looked at Chuan Chang like looking at a monster. There are all kinds of fear and emotions in his eyes, but there is no mercy. As Zhang Ailing said in the article, laugh, and the whole world will laugh with you. Cry, and you will cry alone. As long as it's dramatic and falsely sad, they can accept it. But when they encountered a woman who was in pain, they just opened their eyes wide and said, "This woman is so thin. She's afraid." The joys and sorrows in the world are not the same, and pain can often only be enjoyed by one person. Before Chuan Chang died, her parents no longer wanted to spend money on her medical treatment. After Chuan Chang's death, her parents made a small fortune and decorated her gravesite very beautifully. The inscriptions were filled with praises, which made it clear that this was a daughter that her parents liked very much. However, this was nothing more than a small fortune. It is to make the person who presents the flowers feel the most perfect sorrow and to let outsiders know that the parents of this family love their daughter extremely. Just like some children are unwilling to spend money to treat their seriously ill parents, but are willing to spend money to organize a very beautiful funeral for their parents. But what use is this scenery to those who have passed away? It's just a play for theatergoers.
Alright, this part of the story ends here.
Want to know what happened next? Let's listen to the breakdown next time.